Well, we have a really good update for Sidney Brown and the Philadelphia Eagles. Boston Scott might be trying to make a comeback to this team, and it looks like the Eagles might be in the mix at a trade at wide receiver, and one target I think would make a lot of sense that would be cheap, not only for draft compensation, but would be really cheap for the price you're getting for the next 2 years, and this would be a really interesting one. Let's get into it.
We better turn. Because I've seen enough horror movies to know any weirdo wearing a mask is never friendly.
Yeah, what's going on, guys? I hope everyone's having a fantastic day. I hope everyone's enjoying the start, or at least into their weekend now, and the draft is not far away, and obviously there's more news on the Philadelphia Eagles going forward, and I kind of wanted, because I saw this going around online with other teams being involved or maybe have interest, okay? Now, one receiver. Now, if the Eagles don't want to go receiver in this draft, if they feel as if, they want to get somebody on a cheaper price, or maybe they feel like, with somebody on a current contract where you don't have to give too much compensation, why don't you go into a trade? And this has been swirling around. This has nothing to do with the Eagles having a lot of interest, but, this could come up through a lot of teams. I know the Panthers, I know a few other teams may have looked into the situation with John Mechie and the Houston Texans, okay? Now, on top of Tank Dell, on top of Nico Collins, on top of some of the receivers, now getting Stephon Diggs for a one-year deal pretty much, they're pretty loaded at receiver now. John Mechie might be the odd man out. Can't put too much towards him, unfortunately, getting drafted, having leukemia, and I know people have leukemia. It's horrible. And for him to deal with that and try to get through that, and now being healthy, it's not easy to go through that, and to, you can't put too much on a player, when it comes to a sickness like that and something as serious as that. Okay, now John Mechie, even last year, only had, 158 yards on 16 targets, okay? It's been a very mostly down career for him, and unfortunate bad luck that has come his way due to his health, and is a lot better now. I don't know really the update on his health, and I know he is better and he is back. But there are some rumors going around now that he is up for trade as the odd receiver out of the bunch there. And they have Noah Brown over there too. So, they signed Noah Brown. They have Nico Collins. They got Tank Dell. They got Stephon Diggs. They're pretty much loaded offensively. They're loaded. Okay, it's going to be a big year for the Texans. A lot of pressure on them this year. And unfortunately, I had no touchdowns last year, but was given, the reps that he was given, and that was pretty much it. Okay, John Mechie, okay, his contract right now, still on his rookie deal. He still has this year and next year. Okay, his cap numbers are $2.2 million this year, $2.5 million next year. So really cheap, really, really cheap. I don't think they saved much money from getting rid of him at all, but taking $1 million dead cap hit is nothing. $1.5 million, who cares? The Texans won't be hurt by trading John Mechie at all. But the Eagles have 3 fifth-round picks. Why not use a fifth-round pick on him? Because honestly, at this point, I think this is a low-risk, high-reward move, and it would be cheap. You don't want to waste a pick, obviously, so you want him to come into camp and, hopefully be ready, and, he'll be ready to go. So I think, a guy could play inside receiver. I think he'd be perfect for it. He's got really good hand-eye coordination. His route running's really good, and I think this is a guy they should really give a chance to upon a trade for a guy like this, and kind of new surroundings, new team, kind of rebuilding himself again as a player, which he really didn't have a chance to when he got here because of more serious things that were out of his control. So, like I said, this has been swirling around as teams have been kind of peeking in and out of, seeing what's going on with John Mechie, and he could be a candidate for a draft day trade or before that in a couple weeks. So, I would keep our close eyes on this, and I think they will move him at some point because John Mechie is probably going to be like, you know what, I want to get a chance somewhere else. And it seems like they're just giving up on him, because they're going all in with a new quarterback now. You know what I mean? They're going all in with the quarterback now, and that's all that matters, So, they're trying to get as much depth. They're trying to get the starters and getting everything in line. The Eagles need a receiver. I don't think this is the number one target here, obviously. This is more of a guy's going into camp, guy's going to compete, with Paris Campbell, Devontae Parker, and they have a drafter. They could draft another guy too. They can always draft another guy after the first round. I wouldn't say the first round, I'd say after, just because if they want to go after a bigger receiver like, Donovan Mitchell from Texas, they want to go Xavier Legette, from South Carolina, want to get a bigger receiver for not only now, but your future, or do you want to go after Ricky Purcell? You want to go after a Ladd McConkey, as a pure wide receiver 3 for this year, or you want to produce a wide receiver 3 for the next few years? That's really up to you. But getting John Mechie would be cheap. He'd be cost effective. It probably cost you a 5th to a 6th round pick. It probably wouldn't cost much. Probably not even that. Probably be a lot cheaper than that. It wouldn't surprise me if he was a 7th round pick in a trade. Okay, so I think this would be a great idea, not a bad idea at all, and give it a shot, and see what he could do. I still think he could play at a high level. I just think is between that and, he might have had an injury, so as a risk reward type thing, I would probably be all for it. So, we'll see what happens down the line. But this has been swirling around the NFL, and a potential trade for John Mechie. We'll see. Secondly, Boston Scott. Now, this was obviously a joke on Twitter, but when the Jordan Mailata deal went through, he said, big boy's getting all the money. I wish there was a way to clone myself and make myself a defensive end. Because everybody thought that Bryce Huff looked like Boston Scott on steroids when he came to the press conference. So we know Boston Scott's been working out. I see some videos of him getting prepared to get signed somewhere. I wonder if the Eagles are interested in bringing him back. I don't like him as a kick returner. And as a runner, I think he would fit in Kellen Moore's offense perfectly. But I got to say, the last couple years of Boston Scott, they have done nothing with him. It's been to the point where before Covey came into the picture at punt return, I wanted Boston Scott as a punt returner. I really did. That's what I wanted him at, as the Sproles 2.0 type player that he was supposed to be coming to the Eagles. And in the past, sure, I liked how they used him when he was given opportunity during the season because he's small, he's got that big lower body, and, he's hard to defend when he's behind these big, tall offensive linemen that are pulling around the corner or whatever. We've had a lot of success with Boston Scott, especially against the New York Giants in the past. I wouldn't mind it. I mean, and to be honest with you, I don't even care. I mean, I would say, honestly, to this point, I think they should get some new blood. I know they got that Tyrion, that Price guy from San Francisco that's sitting there. They have Saquon Barkley. They have, obviously they have a few guys. I mean, I forgot the other, I'm forgetting names because the guy that I just don't like at all is in our running back core right now. After that, now with Saquon making $12 million a year now, hey, you better be using Saquon. Okay, you better be using Saquon. I guess I just don't want to say Kenneth Gainwell. Sorry. I guess I just don't want to say his name because I'm just at that point now where I'm I don't even want to say his name, remember his name. I think it'll be a nice number 2, nice number 3. We'll see where it goes. But I think on day 3, they might draft another running back. We'll see what happens. But, I like Boston Scott. I think he would fit in well with Kellen Moore's offense as a receiving back. I think they could do a lot more with him. Diverse, different size type backs with different skill sets. I think you have that here. If you added a pure bruiser like Braylon Allen or something, that'd be great. But I'm not really a big fan of the running back class too much, maybe besides a couple guys. But, Boston Scott's comeback could happen, so we'll see. Not only is Boston Scott trying to make a comeback, Sidney Brown is – a lot of news came out on Sidney Brown the other day. He had an interview. I just don't want to get copyrighted for the video. But in the video, he was interviewed the other day and said that he's miles ahead of where he's at right now, and he should be back by the regular season. I don't think this counts as off-season, training camp, stuff like that. If he can make it to training camp, that's great. If he can't, then yeah, it's going to suck that he's going to miss some time. Maybe he will make it to the last couple preseason games. There's only, 3 preseason games. So he says he's miles ahead after coming off the torn ACL. A lot of promise here because you have a draft. You have Sidney Brown, another hybrid player, Chauncey hybrid player. God knows they get Justin Simmons, hybrid player, Tyler Hall, hybrid player. There's a lot of hybrid players, a lot of guys that can play multiple positions in this defense. That's what Fangio likes, and that's what Fangio wants. I think this is really nice. I mean, because I saw a video of him a week or two ago when he was working out, and it seemed like he could have played. It just seems like his body, like the ACL, it seemed like he was just way ahead of schedule just by the way he was working out and moving. I'm like, damn, from a guy just tore his ACL a while ago, like he looks pretty ready right now, So, but you have to time it right. You can't rush into things, and you want to make sure that you're good. And I know the Eagles staff, I know the health department, I know they take care of their players really well, and I'm not really worried about anything happening in the wrong side of things. But Sidney Brown coming back at an earlier pace, whether it's the start of the first game, if he's back by the first game, fantastic. It just depends on how many practices, how much he's learned terminology-wise of Vic Fangio's defense. That's where it's going to count. Because missing an offseason program, this is where your team starts to gel. This is where you start to put everything together. And you don't want to miss that time. And when players miss that offseason program, especially the whole offseason program between, OTAs, minicamp. We're going to have minicamp this year, which everything's changing. Minicamp, OTAs, training camp, joint practices, preseason games. You miss all of that, man. You're a lost cause for the season. And Sidney Brown, I think, is he was a Red Star player for the Philadelphia Eagles, exemplifies himself as a, hard worker, work ethic, to what it is to be a Philadelphia Eagle. And every year there's always that Red Star player. And he was a Red Star player last year for the Philadelphia Eagles. And I thought he had didn't get much playing time at the beginning of the season. He should have had more playing time. At the end of the year, started to get more playing time and started to make some real good noise. He had that pick 6, and I think it was the Cardinals game, or Seattle game. I forgot what game it was. Then ended up tearing his ACL in a meaningless game, which really sucked. So, that's where we're at with Sidney Brown, and that's pretty much it. I'm really happy going to this draft, and there's always combinations of different things that they could do, and like I said, wide receiver I think is on the top part of their list right now. I know they added Paris Campbell, but it's not promising. They added Devontae Parker at 31 years old, not really that promising. But with John Mechie, you get youth, and you're getting a guy that is going to work his ass off. If you trade for him, he's gonna work his tail off. And the guy's been through a lot. Can't put it against him. Sometimes we're all just dealt the wrong deck of cards, unfortunately, and he's just had a really rough time. Think he needs a new team. I think he's the odd man out of Houston and would be great. So let me know what you guys think about the trade. Let me know what you guys think about, obviously, Boston Scott. And what do you guys think about Sidney Brown with that news? And definitely check it on the internet because it is all over the place. Sidney Brown had an interview saying that he was close to coming back. He said he's miles ahead, and he says, I'll be back by the regular season. I'll be back, which is great. He'll be back by the start of the regular season. That's great news. It's fantastic. You guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Shakes about, follow, peace out, guys. Peace.